Hi everyone, it's Pete here. I just wanted to take a little time to let you know that in this episode, we touch on some topics that I felt very important to speak upon. Some of these topics may be difficult to listen to as they include depictions of violence and suicide. I still encourage you to take a listen. I feel it's important and a need for us to be transparent and to share these difficult topics. If you are someone who has considered suicide or contemplation of suicide, please understand that you can get help, you can speak to somebody, and you are not alone. With that, I'm very proud and excited to share with you this episode. Thank you. Welcome. You're listening to the Just Pete podcast, where you'll be meeting some pretty amazing people, hearing their stories, and giving advice on how they've been going about maneuvering through life in healthy and more positive ways.
Can't nobody live this life for me. It's a ride, y'all. A long, hard ride.
Somebody wake me, I'm dreaming. I started as a seed, the semen, swimming upstream, planted in the womb while screaming. On the top was my pops. My mama screaming stop from a single drop. This is what they got, not to disrespect my people.
Today I have a very special guest. We have with us Sou Yang. Sou Yang, I've known her since she was... How old were you? Do you remember?
Probably like 12 when I was in 6th grade.
I know Sue from her brother. His name's Desavouth, Yang, and he was my best friend. I remember the first time that I hung out with Des, we were walking home. We're just walking home, and it's like I'm not sure where I'm going. I'm just going along with him, and then all of a sudden he starts pointing at this little girl. I didn't know who it was, and I was like, "Hey, Des, why are you saying stuff to this kid?" And then it turned out to be Sue. I have a nickname for Sue that I've been calling her since I've known her, Tiny. So if you hear me calling her Tiny, I'm referring to Sue. We've been close and keeping in touch through the years. Whenever I get a chance to go back to Minnesota, I try to make some time to see her, and she makes time for me. How long ago was it that you came out here to LA?
Probably like a month ago.
We had a fantastic time, and she got to discover some things that I think she really enjoyed, and being out on the beach and being out in Venice and having a Kai bowl and doing yoga. She'll tell you more about the yoga, but and how it's impacted her life. She actually made reservations for a yoga class as soon as she got off the plane. She's like, I got a yoga class today. And I was like, whoa. And I think that's really cool, and just really happy to have her as a guest, and really excited for her to talk about her life, her story, and the kind of things that she's doing now and in the near future here. Could you just start with introduction about yourself?
I'm a single parent of 3 kids. I'm currently a student at the University of Minnesota right now. I'm a senior there. I also work full-time as a medical assistant at a small family practice clinic in Minnesota. That's pretty much what I'm doing right now.
Awesome. How do we dive into this? A big reason why I wanted Tiny to be part of this podcast is because she's someone who I really love and respect, both grown in different ways, but it's really fun to see how we're there for each other. And Sue's gone through a lot of things in her life. Just Pete was created to really be transparent, face the difficulties that we all face in life head on. And all of us have all sorts of walks of life. I think it's so important, and I've been encouraging other people to really honor and own their narrative, their backstory, what's made them become the person that they are today up to this point. Yeah, Tiny, do you just want to start talking about sharing about your past?
Yeah, I guess what really connects Pete and I, what connects us is my brother. Dad's passed passed away in March 24th, 2003, committed suicide. It was a very difficult time. I only had the one sibling. I miss him a lot still today, but so that was kind of like one of my challenges in life. I guess we gotta, what I really want to talk about is why he did it. I guess growing up, my brother and I, we grew up in a very abusive household. My dad isn't my brother's real father, and he met my dad maybe at the age of 3, and then they had me a year later. And the abuse for my brother started, the day that he met my father. And the day that I came into the world is when the abuse was starting, or, I lived with it my whole life. It wasn't easy. My dad was abusive to my mom, physically, emotionally, mentally. Same thing with my brother. I remember my mom telling me a story one time. My dad got upset with my brother for splashing too much water out of the bathtub, so my dad wanted to hit him. But he ran out naked to his friend's house. He hit my mom, or he pushed her in the bathtub and she cracked her I guess she just had a laceration to her skull. It started at a very young age, and I was just a baby at that time. So growing up, it's been that way. There's many times where I would intervene with my dad, protecting my brother from the abuse. It kind of drove me to focus on my studies in school more. So I was a straight A student growing up. I always excelled academically. I studied math really hard, and I even skipped a grade in math. It was like a secret. Couldn't tell anyone. It got really hard when my brother hit 14, became suicidal at that point, probably maybe 10. I was a therapist. I was always the one to pull him back into the world, convince him not to give up, not to do it. And he struggled that way for the next decade until he committed suicide. And it's just for the longest time, I never understood why he did what he did until I went through it too, which was last year. My parents actually came to live with me probably 3 years ago because they lost their poultry farm to foreclosure. So I let them come stay with me, my kids, and at the time I was divorced. And I guess August of last year, my dad assaulted my son for not taking the dog out. I came home 10 minutes after the fact, and I saw the blood and everything. I don't know, it just triggered a lot of things for me, and I couldn't explain why. My son was so scared of my dad, he even peed his pants. He was 14, but whenever my dad abused us, we never peed our pants, but my son never grew up like that, so different. I was diagnosed with PTSD in December of last year. I always had anxiety issues, but never to that extreme. It's probably 5 times worse. I don't understand. It lies dormant, and then all of a sudden, when my dad assaulted my son, it triggered all those emotions that I suppressed growing up from the abuse. And I guess PTSD is it's what fear conditions your brain, your body. Your body has a natural mechanism. It just basically tells your body to run away or protect yourself because your body's natural instinct is to live and survive. And that gets stored somewhere different in your body. In your brain. It gets stored somewhere different in your brain. Your brain's just rewired that way. There's no cure for it. I have what people get out of, war combat. But for me, it's different. I got it from growing up in an abusive house, and over a decade, I also endured watching my brother try to commit suicide, and that was really hard for me to deal with. He would be crying to me because of what happened, and I'd be talking to him, and of course, I can't cry about it because I got to be the strong one. I got to be the positive one. There's nothing worse in life, I don't think, than to watch someone that you love struggle emotionally. It wasn't easy watching him that way. I'm not gonna lie, there was times where he'd be so down and depressed, and I couldn't help him. I couldn't help him cope. It just got worse and worse as time progressed. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to help him. Sometimes I just wish he would just do it and be done with it and his suffering. I didn't know that he had PTSD too until I went through it. Now I know what he feels and how bad the anxiety got. Now I get why he did what he did. It's just been a very difficult year this year. I had to quit my job, or I had to have medical leave from my job in September of last year because of my PTSD triggered, or my anxiety triggered symptoms. I couldn't work. I was still in school at that time, and I was really struggling. I couldn't even complete my 2 courses at the University of Minnesota that I took last fall, 2017. I remember when times were dark. 1 week before I took my genetics final, I was going to end my life because I felt like a failure to my family. At that time, I couldn't pay my rent because short-term disability denied my claim. I had 2 incompletes. I had to take 2 incompletes from 2 of my courses. It was Christmas time. I didn't have any presents to buy my kids this past year. I didn't buy them a single present. It was rough, and I was going to end my life, but then I started thinking about my kids, and I started watching students study during final time, how they were able to concentrate and focus on their finals. And then I would see students laugh and play, goof around, and I'm like, if I killed myself today, my kids would never get to have that kind of life. Just enjoy school and not have to deal with that anxiety. And then the week later, I took my genetics final, and I don't think anyone should take a final underneath those circumstances and stress. It was really bad. Come a long ways. I've been in therapy for a year now. I started doing yoga in January. It's been amazing. It's really helped me a lot with my PTSD. I practice it right now. I probably go 5 to 6 times a week. Something that helps me.
So,
it's like really hard. This is hard.
Oh, you're doing a great job.
Sometimes I lose track. I should probably written it out more better, but
Nah, it's okay. I mean, this is kind of the way I've been doing these podcasts, where I just let it organically happen. Could you just briefly take a moment, break down PTSD outside of the abbreviations, like what it is?
What do you mean, post-traumatic stress disorder?
Yeah, exactly. Is what you've described, is it like that for everyone? As far as... Yeah. Oh, go ahead. Uh-huh.
For PTSD?
Yeah.
Yeah, your brain just gets rewired. Your brain is conditioned to fear. Sometimes little things in life, I'll see it as life-threatening. My friend, I was just like, yeah, it's not the end of the world, but she's like, it's not the end of the world, she tells me. She reminds me.
Can you give me an example?
Taking this biochem test, I thought it was the end of the world. Because I had to redo my classes this year, so it's been kind of emotional for me. Basically tying the rope back where I severed it. And the reason why I had to sever it is because I had to survive it for my 3 kids. If I didn't sever it, I'd be dead. And that was Dez's issue. It's just like, he never severed it. If he would have severed it, the first step for me in my healing process was to be removed from my parents, because they trigger memories. I had therapy to talk about stuff, and if I didn't remove myself, I'd still be in that PTSD state. And my friend, she really helped me out. She's like, I was really messed up, in December, January. All I would do is sit on her couch, look really, really sad. And she's like, I hate them for you, because she just saw me, and she just felt so bad for me. I didn't know what was going on. I was confused. I was always angry with my mom. It was just a confusing time, and I didn't get it. I didn't get it. It was dark. I would just listen to music all day. I'm a lot better now with that component, but basically your body is just reacting to everything defensively.
You mentioned before the environment that you grew up, the environment that Des grew up. As you got older, you realized the emotions were being suppressed. Could you describe how you were after Des passed away? I guess what I'm wondering is, were you any different after Des passed away to what happened to your son, or were there things that were popping up before that were also triggers and that kind of stuff? I'm just trying to understand a little bit more about this process. We've talked about it before, but I believe that sometimes things happen to us that are the toughest challenges, but then on the bright side of things, this trigger kind of set you on this journey to really face this thing, having to make a choice. Maybe otherwise you wouldn't have. And you know, and I'm not saying that.
No, it's true.
You know what I mean?
I totally agree with you 100% there. Like this was bound. This is how I feel. I feel like what has happened to my life is basically it's happened for me to deal with the past, so then I can move on forward with my life and become who I was always supposed to be.
That's beautiful. Wow.
That's how I really feel about all this. It was always bound to happen. You know, God really loves me because Des got triggered at a very young age and he couldn't deal with it.
Yeah.
I mean, we've always had PTSD. Like, my PTSD probably started at 12. Because I remember writing, I have this sixth grade yearbook, and it asked me, if you could go anywhere in the world, where would you go? I put somewhere far away. Who's the most special person in your life? I put no one. What was your favorite memory of sixth grade? Nothing. I was really upset with my sixth grade teacher. So that's why I wore the red shirt for the class picture.
She didn't like red, or what happened?
He basically just told me that I was a nobody.
Oh.
I'm Asian. I'm never going to make it in this world. And like for me as a child, I always looked to school as an outlet for PTSD, for my, you know, abusive household. I mean, I always got student of the month, and, you know, she's such a good student. I always got compliments, and that's what I was looking for in school. It's just that positive feedback, because I never got that from my parents. So that's why I was like a straight A student. And if you read about it, a lot of kids that grow up in like abusive households are like straight A students or perfectionists. You always feel like you're not good enough. You look at your sixth grade teacher and he's trying to tell you like you're nobody, just like your parents say. And that's pretty much what caused my depression. And the following year, like I was a popular student. Following year, I didn't want to be friends with anybody. Total social withdrawal and isolation in the 7th grade. So that's probably my onset of PTSD right there. And that's why I wore the red shirt, because I didn't think that what he was doing was right. No one stood up for me. The red shirt that said rebel.
Oh.
Everything was intentional.
The hoodie?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Red hoodie, yeah. Picture. Rebel.
Do I have that hoodie now?
I think you do that UNLV one.
I think I have it. I haven't worn it in a while, but like, cause it's gotten smaller.
Want that hoodie back.
All right, you can have it back.
You know what?
Huh?
You know what? That moment right there, I actually, you know what? When in December and January when I was moving, I actually found that picture. Man, that picture means a lot to me.
Can you describe the picture for our listeners?
The picture is a class picture. Everyone had their white T-shirts, you know, because at 6th grade you're graduating from elementary school. Everyone signed the back of the T-shirts or whatever. I didn't order one on purpose. It wasn't because my parents couldn't afford it. So the picture was everyone in white, and I was wearing this red UNLV.
Yep.
Rebels red hoodie, bright red. Kind of just reminded me of my fighting spirit. I know the situation, like the abuse stuff, is wrong, and I just have to stand up for myself and not give up. Just like that little girl that fought so hard to, you know, not give up, and she worked so hard to, like in school, she got accepted to University of Minnesota her senior year, so she got to go early. So that was a big accomplishment right there. Not many people can do that. Fighting or looking for a way out, trying to make things better, kind of reminded me of who I was, and not to give up at that moment. That picture actually means it's very sentimental to me, very symbolic.
Well, that's really cool. That's thanks for sharing that. You definitely have a fighting spirit, and it's definitely risen to the occasion very recently. I wonder if you wouldn't mind sharing a little bit about your relationship with Des, and just maybe like a little memory that you have.
One of my favorite memories of Des and I growing up is probably when we were living in Billings, Montana. My brother would put up basketball hoops, like laundry baskets on each side. Love basketball, and we would use socks. I mean, that's where my love for basketball came from. And he would make me watch all the sports with them, football, basketball, because he wanted to watch it with someone, so I would always do that. Those were some of the good times. My dad would also buy me like a birthday gift. All the video game systems always came out during my birthday. So we went to go get the Sega Genesis because he wanted it. But that was my birthday gift. I gave it to him. So that's my love for him. Growing up, and then when he was old enough to work, he would used to buy me like basketball shoes every year. So I always had the latest Jordans every year. My brother made sure that I would have a good pair of basketball shoes to play basketball. And then he would take me to my tournaments and my games and whatnot.
I have a story about that, but we'll share about that later.
I mean, our love is special. The abuse made us lean on each other more. You don't understand it unless you live it. We understood each other. So I can always sense if something's wrong with him. And he can always do that with me. So it's just something so unconditional, something so pure. I don't know how to describe it. You only get to experience that once in a million lifetimes, I think.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. I mean, I've seen you two together, and as you've gotten older, you know, I've seen how impactful you guys were to each other, and just hearing right now, you know, some of the more details, it's very powerful, and yeah, there's something really, really incredible about your guys' relationship. You mentioned before that since he was 14 that he was thinking about, he had contemplated or attempted to take his life. And then you also mentioned that at some point you also got a little exhausted, a little tired, and in a way kind of expected like it was just going to happen. Did you at some point feel like, okay, there's just no turning back? This is bound to happen? I mean, that sounds like a really difficult thing for someone who's younger to take that responsibility. So I just wanted to pick your brain a little bit about that, like where you were emotionally, trying to help your brother, but at the same time, your brother, he was dealing with what he was dealing with, and ultimately, when it happened, just wanted to ask you about that.
It wasn't easy all the time. I mean, I would always tell him, encourage him, like things will get better. Dad's so stupid, things will be okay, give him hugs or whatever, talk about other things. But emotionally, I had to be strong. I would suppress my memories and emotions really good. Because if he saw me hurting, it wouldn't be good. He just is more sensitive. He wouldn't ever want to see me hurt. I always told him to look at the glass half full all the time. It wasn't easy all the time. I mean, I used to get recurring nightmares when I was probably 14, 13. My nightmares would be an evil spirit over me, and I was helpless. I couldn't scream for help. I couldn't move. Super scary in your dream. So my brother gave me this master Shinhai pendant, and he told me to say Namo Shinhai Wu Shang Shi, which means, in translation, whoever sincerely recites it will be saved and liberated. Whenever I had those nightmares, I'd say those words. Those nightmares were, you know, my sense of helplessness, because I was so helpless, because I was so young. I didn't know how to help him. You know, as his symptoms progressed and got more severe, his suicidal ideations got more severe, more physical, because he used to cut himself, engravings in him, shapes and words, because he was hurting so much emotionally that he would rather feel the physical pain than the emotional pain, which I totally get. Right now I get it, but that's what he would do. And I always told myself, like, hey, you know, I gotta like really finish this school. Once I become whatever I'm gonna become when I graduate with my college degree, I'm gonna take care of my brother. I'm gonna take care of my mother. We're gonna move away far from dad, because we don't have to worry about money. My mom always told us the reason why she stayed was because of the financial aspect of it. So that's why she could leave my dad, and that was my drive right there. So school means a lot to me, and finishing this U of M degree means a lot to me. You know, it's something that I can't give up on. When I was 16, he told my mom, we don't need dad. I can work 2 jobs. We can pick up more cleaning. We can clean more offices. And we can put Tiny through school, through college. And when she's done with college, she'll take care of us. So sweet of him, the love that we have for each other. While he was having his crisis moment, I was always trying to look for a way out. My way out's always been through school. Still is. So just talking about, I guess, his death. I mean, he was preparing me for his death. 2 years before he did it. He talked about death all the time, and he talked about how I should celebrate his death and not to mourn for him. So in a way, he just tried to comfort me when he did it. He knew 2 years before he did it that he was going to do it. I mean, he even took out a life insurance policy in which that you have to have 2-year minimum before you commit suicide in order for the policy to be cleared for you to get the money. He did 2 years, 3 months after that policy was taken out. And he bought the gun that he did it with. It takes, I think, 6 months to get your gun permit. So he applied for his gun permit, and then he bought a gun. I mean, he had everything planned out to the T. He even planned out his death on my spring break for college. I mean, he planned out everything pretty good. I wasn't shocked that he did it. My parents both were shocked. And I was thinking in my head the whole time, like, seriously, like how could you not know that he was gonna do it? Because my dad's like, oh, it should have been by drugs or something.
Right.
My mom was in denial. No, right? And I'm thinking in my head, like, yeah, he did it. There's no doubt about it that he killed himself. I mean, to me, I was amazed that they didn't know. And this whole time I was dealing with it by myself. After his death, I became very socially withdrawn. I couldn't talk to anybody. I couldn't even talk to you, Pete, for like 5 years after. Seeing you is like a memory of my brother, and it was very difficult to see you.
Yeah.
It took me time to see you. I just became like a vegetable for the next like 10 years after his death. Went to like Great Depression. I think the changing point in my life was when I left my husband, who was also abusive. And that's when I kind of became a little bit more motivated in getting my life back together. And then I started taking classes at the North Hennepin, and I'm like, well, what do you want to be? And it's like, well, I still want to be that doctor that I told Des. Took a whole bunch of science courses. Got accepted to the U of M last fall. So that was amazing seeing progress and heading towards the right direction. And it wasn't easy because after Des died, it's tough. It was really hard to get back up.
Just from what you've described, I mean, you've gone through, you and Des went through a lot, and, Des chose his route, and here you are making waves and shaping your path. I don't know if it was deliberately or if it's just like who you are. You've clearly like taken some time to research a lot about what you've experienced, and just understanding PTSD from a clinical or medical standpoint. I mean you seem to know it a lot more than probably you did before. So I was just curious about how that came about. Are the things that you are doing now, are they things that part of the process of healing that your therapist gave you, or is this just stuff that you've just been realizing that you just got to do?
So basically, like I said, December and January were very dark times for me because I was in the process of losing. Well, I wasn't able to pay my rent. So my kids were about to lose their home. The doctor wanted to shove like all these antidepressants, these anti-anxiety medicine down me, and my therapist, she didn't really suggest anything. I mean, I did a lot of research on PTSD because I really needed to overcome it because I have 3 kids, and like I said, I'm a single parent. I'm all that they have. I was looking at recovery time for PTSD and what's the average. I mean, it varies from person to person, but usually recovery time is about 2 years. And I'm like thinking in my head, like, I don't have 2 years. I got 3 kids. I got to get back to work. I got to figure this out. I got to somehow figure this stuff out. So I did reading about how exercise promotes protein called brain derivative neurotrophic factor. So basically they're proteins that connect your neurons together to make new neuron connections. Your brain's always constantly making new connections as you think and stuff. So I did a lot of research on that, and how exercise actually increases that protein by 3-folds. Nothing very strenuous exercise, but just enough exercise, like a light jog or something that increased that. And then I also added, I have all these new neuron connections. Well, what can I do? I gotta have like something happy, right? Mm-hmm. So How do you exercise your brain, your emotions, and your thoughts? Well, you know what? Music. Like if you listen to a sad song, like your emotions come with it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're thinking about sad things. So basically, my thought is, PTSD floods your brain with all these negative memories, all these negative emotions that you've suppressed, because that's how your brain survives. It suppresses those memories and stuff. I figured, well, if it floods my brain, why not flood my brain with happy memories? So I would look at pictures of my kids, just because I didn't know when those neurons were connecting. So all day I'd be on my headphones listening to like happy music, looking at pictures. I do a lot of pictures now. I'm very big on pictures. A lot of happy pictures. I try to make new happy memories. So basically just rewiring the brain to overcome that dark state. And I think after maybe like doing that for like a month or so, I got better. When I was in my dark times, like my brain physically felt like someone took a baseball bat, hit me in the lower part of my head, the back of my head. So it felt swollen. The brain felt swollen. So after I was able to rewire my brain and like recondition it to like happy stuff, the swelling kind of subsided and kind of got a little bit better, able to have some kind of motivation to keep going. And then I did yoga because I did a lot of research. People do yoga or whatever. So I tried it and I actually like it. And it's not like the yoga that you think. And the reasoning to why I like yoga, it's not even like the calming mechanism or anything like that. Like I practice the heated vinyasa yoga. So it's yoga in like 105 degrees. It's very continuous movement, continuous flow. So you do a series of poses at your own pace, but mine is very continuous. Basically, you become like very uncomfortable in that room, in the heated room, because it's 105 and you're physically exhausted. You're mentally tired and bothered because of heat. You hold these crazy poses at the end, like maybe a deep lunge or whatever. It's very exhausting. You're very tired. Well, do you give up? I mean, if you give up, do you try again? Do you have the mental stamina to continue to keep pushing through it, even though you're physically exhausted and you're discomfort, finding your inner strength. So that's a spiritual part of yoga. After Des died, I lost my inner strength. And it took me a while to build that up, to get back to the U of M. And then this PTSD thing happened, and I didn't want to lose my drive because I knew how long it took me to get to that moment to go back to school. And if I lose my drive, I can't be there for my kids. I wouldn't be working today, wouldn't be back in school today. The whole thing that I get from yoga, and I absolutely love it. I never want to lose that drive, that inner strength, because it's got me where I am today through all that chaos. Like I was a straight A student in an abusive home. Like the amount of stress that was going around my room while studying. Sometimes I look back and I'm amazed at that little girl. She really fought through it and was determined to become someone outside of the abuse. Not let the abuse define her. She could be whatever she wanted to be. It has nothing to do with smarts, because I don't think I'm very smart, but I'm very hardworking. I'm really late to study. My parents never told me, hey, you should study. This is all motivation on my own. I never want to lose that component of myself. It's who I am.
That's really awesome. No, I love it. I mean, I think it's there's a lot of correlation to who you are and this rebel fighting spirit in the red. Could you talk a little bit about your schooling and the research that can you talk about that?
My goal is to eventually become like a medical scientist. I really want to do research in neuroscience and then plus the neuroplasticity, rewiring the brain and how all that works. So I hope I can help people with anxiety issues, people like me, because I can understand it because I have it, Alzheimer's, and it's basically through like gene expression, gene therapy, so no drugs or anything like that really. It's going to be my main focus, what I'm working towards.
Awesome.
I don't know what to say, but like my life, everything that since that moment where my dad assaulted my son, my life has changed in so many ways. I've lost over 100 pounds. If you would have known me like a year before that, I would never say I would do yoga. And if you known me before that, I would never want to study the brain because it's so complex. Never had an interest in it. So it's basically, I call it the universe pushing me towards something greater than what I imagine for myself. I just have no control. I mean, I never thought I would lose all this weight. I never thought I would really enjoy like doing physical stuff like yoga. And actually, I'm starting to do weight training right now. Like, I really like being physically active, walking and whatnot. For me, studying the brain, like that was never my goal. I'm just accepting it. Like, this is my calling. This is the way that I'm supposed to go. Sometimes it's confusing at times, I'll admit. I don't know why these things are happening. I think that happens with everybody, though. You know, something happens to you and you just don't understand it, but maybe like later on you'll understand why it happened.
Mm-hmm.
But for now, so to be continued. I don't get much sleep. I'm on maybe 18-hour days right now, working full-time, being a student and trying to be a mom. Yeah, I gotta squeeze all that in a day, and it's hard sometimes, but gotta do it. There's no excuses.
Well, we thank you for taking a couple hours of your evening to do this podcast. Is there anything else that, there's a couple of things, just one or two more things to touch on, but is there anything that you'd like to touch on?
I think eventually in my life, I'd love to be like a motivational speaker to like kids. I'd love to talk to kids at school, because I know a lot of kids, they go through this abuse thing. No one has once ever told me, hey, it's not your fault, or anything like that, even though they knew that the abuse was going on. No one ever gave me a hug, said sorry. Not that I was expecting it, but you know, as a kid, it would have meant the world. Because even today, I still work on that, struggling with those negative thoughts. Sometimes I feel like I'm a very bad person. I know deep down inside that I'm not, but sometimes I struggle with that. I mean, I'm still working on that. I would love to talk to kids. It's always a secret when you're a kid. I'd love to inspire other kids going through the same thing, you know, like, hey, don't give up, study hard, and that I believe in them, that they can be anything that they want to be, and they can overcome that in their life. Because if I don't believe in those kids, how can I believe in myself that I'm going to overcome this? I definitely want to let them know that it's not their fault and that I believe in them. Just that little hope. You give a kid that little piece of hope, they'll hold on to it. Who knows what they can do with that? One piece that I want to bring more awareness to, because a lot of people don't like to talk about it. Since I've been more open about this abuse thing, my brothers and my story to my family, I've been outcasted. And I tell them, hey, I have PTSD, I'm pretty open about it. I know that PTSD won't define me, but hey, this is what I have because of abuse. And they just look at me kind of crazy or scared. But don't be scared of me because I have PTSD. Because you're not the one living with it, I am. There's no reason for you to, I don't know why other people have such a hard time to struggle with that idea that my brother and I were abused, like to that extreme. We're pushed, you know, for Des and I to have PTSD. This is something that should be talked about. I don't think there's anything shameful about it. And the whole process of losing my home, my car, a lot of family members have walked away from me. So I don't have that support, but I do have good friends, including you, Jess, Biba, and Maria, and they're my new family. You know, things that you think would look so straightforward. Hey, this kid was abused. Obviously, that's wrong. You would think the family would rally behind the kid. Most kids that are abused or whatever, when they grow up, a lot of the times the family will disown them if they're open about it. In my case, it's just that since Des committed suicide, and a lot of them knew that the abuse was going on and they didn't do anything, they feel guilty. So it's easier to deny it than to accept it. I'm really just living through these emotions, these waves of colorful emotions. I don't want to deny or suppress my emotion. If I want to let something out, I'll write it, let it out. Actually, my counselor, my therapist told me a good saying, denial plus pain equals suffering. And then I love the saying, denial plus acceptance equals ordinary pain. I don't ever want to suffer through it. I'm just going to ride out these waves. I'm really facing it. I'm just trying to live my life positive. I know that one day all my dreams will come true. I actually met this one guy on Facebook, Pete. His name is Mike Benson. I Googled PTSD plus bodybuilding because I wanted to see if there was any like scientific journals on it to read about it and understand it. Saw this guy, his Facebook, and he's basically an ex-military guy. He was sexually assaulted while he was in military, so that's his trauma. He has PTSD. He's been weightlifting past like a year and a half. He's looking pretty good. He's very open about it. Like all his posts is, you know, all about persevering, overcoming it. I instant message him, and he understands, and I understand about the struggles. I have daily struggles with PTSD. I'm not perfect. I'm not 100% cured. But what makes me different is that I'm still moving forward. It doesn't hold me back. Struggle will always be there, but that's fine. I'm always going to keep moving forward and persevering. It was kind of nice to meet someone like that. We're going to be friends, so it's pretty cool.
That is really cool.
I mean, he's doing his thing, and I told him, like, he said, I struggle daily with it. That's what he told me. And I told him, yeah, I understand and I feel what your struggles are. Whenever I'm struggling, I know that you're right there fighting with me.
If there was a listener going through, either has been going through or is going through what you've described, what would you recommend for someone that might be in a similar space or similar situation as you or even Des was?
Pain is only temporarily. It doesn't last forever. It's only going to last for a moment and be gone. And you just got to know that whatever bad stuff that's happening in life, it's just temporarily. Well, the sun does really come out tomorrow, eventually. Not to give up. Don't give up. Always inspired to be the opposite of, like, I always inspired to be the opposite of my parents. That's why they call me very defiant. They'll call me like I'm a flat-out child just because I did the opposite of what they wanted. Because if I were to do what they wanted to do, I probably wouldn't be alive. You know, I'd be doing the poultry farm with them. Just know that everyone can be great. You just have to work hard for it. Once you know that, there's no stopping you because you've already overcome so much. This one student, actually I was a student last year at the U of M or whatever, and I was studying like hours and hours in Wilson Library. And this kid was in med school. He was in med school and he had asked me, why do you have all this motivation? You're so motivated. Where does that come from? He's like second year med school. He's like, I wish I studied the way you studied when I was undergrad. And you know what motivated me, see the advantage that we have with other people that haven't gone through like hardships and stuff is that our pain is what motivates us to do better, to want more, to work harder. So, you know, use that pain in a positive way. I mean, because you're a stronger person because of what you've endured. You just have different perspectives in life. So, you know, look at it as positive. That's what I would say.
That's beautiful. That's great. I think this has been inspiring and thought-provoking conversation. You've really shared a lot about what you can give people through your example. You're fighting. I think it's a great way to conclude. I mean, we'll have other conversations and we'll come back and do another podcast eventually. Maybe hear more about your researching or motivation speaking. How's that sound? Is that you think this has been wrap it up here? You think it's pretty good?
Actually, you know what? I actually want to put in one thing though. I always
there you go.
Like that kind of theme or motto.
Okay.
It's like a phoenix. You can rise from the ashes and overcome anything in life. That's my theme for this year. I'm actually going to get a tattoo.
Of the phoenix?
Yeah.
Cool.
Overcoming hardships.
For sure. You know about Jean Grey, X-Men, and the Phoenix, right?
A little bit, yeah.
All right. Well, check it out. She is a badass. So yeah, I am very grateful for you to take this time. I think it's not easy and it's easy. I feel like both of us have gotten to a point now where we want to enjoy our lives, and you definitely are doing it. And it was really great to see you out here having a great time, having a time of your life. And even if you're just chilling on the beach or whatever you're doing, you know, just really happy to see you enjoying things. Just want that more for you. Appreciate you taking the time to share with us and give your insight and share with us your narrative and what shaped you, but also how you're making a choice to overcome and persevere and get what you want out of life. But I think for now, we'll leave it at that. I love you very much, and I'm really proud of you. I've learned a lot about you that is really helping me understand more of where you're at and where you've come from. So I appreciate that, and I think a whole bunch of listeners will extremely appreciate that. And let's go get it.
Yeah. yeah, definitely am in progress of creating a life worth living. And I definitely had fun in LA. The beach, Santa Monica Beach was my favorite.
Oh, Santa Monica. Okay, all right. Yeah, Santa Monica. Oh, there's this
Well, Venice Beach had some hot guys though.
On that note, folks, Venice Beach for the hot guys. Santa Monica for not sure. So
I could definitely do that high bowl all the time.
yes, me too. All right, well, yeah, let's talk some more. It's what one almost 1:30 over there. This has been cool. Our first podcast, different locations. Pretty excited about that. But yeah, you keep at it, and anything you need, just keep me posted. All right.
All right. Well, thank you.
Cool. Love you very much.
Love you.
All right.
Yeah. All right. Bye.
Bye.
You've been listening to a Just Pete podcast. Thank you to our listeners, and we look forward to our next session together. If you'd like to find out more information regarding this podcast or others, please go to www.justpete.org. All be inspired.